Hello students, welcome to the part 3 of the boiler troubles. We are discussing the boiler corrosion in the part 2 and we have seen the priming and the foaming problem. Now we move towards the various causes, disadvantages of the boiler corrosion and how to control the problem further. In this lecture, we are going to cover the topic in the boiler corrosion with their causes, disadvantages, and how to control this problem. What is the learning outcome of this lecture? You will able to understand about a brief boiler corrosion trouble or the problem with the causes, disadvantages and the control measures. So the boiler corrosion is the decaying and the disintegration of the boiler body material due to the chemical or the electrochemical reaction with the environment, and the various causes of the boiler corrosion are the dissolved oxygen, dissolved carbon dioxide and the mineral acids. Now we see individually how the dissolved oxygen responsible for the boiler corrosion, and then the dissolved carbon dioxide and mineral acids. So let's see the dissolved oxygen, how it is responsible for the boiler corrosion. The water usually contain 8 parts per million of the dissolved oxygen at the room temperature, which is essential for the life of the aquatic animals. As the water gets heated in the boiler, this dissolved oxygen sets free and the boiler starts corroding by the reaction of the oxygen under high temperature. It reacts with the iron of the boiler in the presence of the water under high temperature to form rust, that is the ferric oxide. So here the reaction is able to understand if the oxygen sets free in the presence of the water, it starts reacting with the iron to form first the ferrous hydroxide, and this ferrous hydroxide when react with the water it forms the ferric oxide, and this is only the reddish brown colored rust. And once it begins to start slowly, all the iron gets reacted with the oxygen under such high temperature in the presence of the water. All the conditions enhances this formation of this ferric oxide, that is rust. So this how the dissolved oxygen is responsible for the boiler corrosion. So the dissolved oxygen amount should be removed from the water to avoid this problem. So how to remove the dissolved oxygen content from the water or the boiler feed water? This content should be removed before using in the boiler. There are the two methods to remove the dissolved oxygen. The first is the chemical method, means by adding the chemicals we can remove the oxygen content which sets free under heating of the water. And the next method is the mechanical deaeration method. This method is used to remove the dissolved gases content, whether for the oxygen as well as for the carbon dioxide it is also used, because both the gases are the main cause for the boiler corrosion. So mechanical deaeration method is used to remove the dissolved oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide gas from the water. So first we see the chemical method for the removal of the oxygen content. The one is hydrazine. The second is sodium sulfite. This is not 4 here, it is 3. Na2SO3, sodium sulfite and the sodium sulfide. Okay, so these are the chemicals we can use for the removal of the dissolved oxygen. The first is by adding the hydrazine, and the second is by adding the sodium sulfite or the sodium sulfide. Understood? So let's see the first chemical, that is hydrazine. It is an ideal chemical for the removal of the dissolved oxygen. If we say among all the chemicals like hydrazine, sodium sulfite or sodium sulfide, among all the hydrazine is an ideal chemical for the removal of the dissolved oxygen. Why? Because it forms the product nitrogen and the water. And nitrogen is an inert gas which do not create further problem. Okay, an ideal chemical is that chemical which removes the cause as well as is do not responsible for the future problem, or the product which is formed, it do not create the further problem. So that means that chemical should be ideal. So hydrazine is an ideal chemical for the removal of dissolved oxygen. So hydrazine, we can say, when react with the water, it form the nitrogen and the water. So the nitrogen is the inert gas and it do not create problem. Hydrazine remove the dissolved oxygen without increasing the concentration of any other dissolved solids and salts. So this is an ideal chemical, but pure hydrazine is not used for the removal of the oxygen. Why? Because it is an explosive inflammable liquid and it can't be used. It is not safe to use pure hydrazine because it is highly explosive inflammable liquid which can create an accident. So the 40% aqueous solution of the hydrazine is used, which is safe for the removal of oxygen. So this must be kept in the mind that hydrazine is an ideal chemical for the removal of the oxygen, but pure hydrazine is not used. Its 40% aqueous solution is used, which is quite safe. And the second point we have to remember for the hydrazine should be taken in appropriate amount. It should not be in excess. The excess of the hydrazine is not used because it forms the ammonia, and ammonia is the corrosive gas which causes the corrosion of some of the alloys like brass. It can cause the corrosion. So if we go for using the excess of the hydrazine, it results in the formation of ammonia and it results into the problem of the corrosion. So excess of the hydrazine is not used. It should be used in an appropriate amount, means calculated quantity. Appropriate means it should be calculated. How much of the dissolved oxygen is there? We have the 8 parts per million. So we go for using the calculated amount. Understood? Calculated amount of the hydrazine is used. So rather than saying the appropriate word, we have to say the calculated amount. So calculated amount is very much essential to use. It should not be excess, otherwise it result into the ammonia which leads to the corrosion. Now if we see the another chemicals that we can add sodium sulfite and sodium sulfide. So how it remove the dissolved oxygen? The reaction can be sodium sulfite react with the oxygen to produce sodium sulfate, and the sodium sulfide, if we go for use, it is also result to form sulfate. But the products are sulfates are forming. So what happens? Sulfate decomposes to give sulfur dioxide gas which can enter in the steam pipe to form corrosive acid, that is sulfurous acid. So these chemicals are not an ideal chemical for the removal of the oxygen, because this is actually producing that product which causes the corrosion forming acid. So if we go for using as a chemical method for the removal of the dissolved oxygen, we should prefer the hydrazine. That is safe. Safely you have to go for using the hydrazine, and that should not create the problem of the corrosion. But its access should not be taken. The second method is for the removal of the dissolved oxygen is mechanical deaeration method. This is the method in which the water is passed, consists of the spraying the water over preheated perforated plates stacked in a degasifier by applying high temperature and vacuum. Understood? So we go for passing the water, spray the water over such tank where the perforated plates having high surface area, it is there among heated and providing the high temperature and vacuum. So we are actually providing this condition so that the solubility of the gas decreases, and when the solubility decreases, it can be easily removed, and this method is called mechanical deaeration. Let's see in the diagram. You can able to see the equipment here as the mechanical deaeration process. We have a tank over which we have the steam jackets are there, which provide the high temperature to the water, and from the upper side we feed the water inside the tank, and the tank is having the perforated plates. The perforated means having the pores, and it provides the high surface area for the water to pass, and over this the tank is connected to the vacuum pump to reduce the pressure. Because these conditions we are giving to decrease the solubility of the gas. According to the gas law, the solubility of the gas is inversely proportional to the temperature and directly proportional to the pressure. So if it is inversely proportional to the temperature, so what we want to do, we want to decrease the solubility of the gas. If we want to decrease the solubility of the gas, the temperature should be increased. Okay, inversely proportional. And directly proportional, if we want to decrease the solubility of our gas, the pressure should be decreased. So to the vacuum pump we are reducing the pressure and we are increasing the temperature and providing the high surface area. So in all these conditions, the solubility of the dissolved oxygen as well as for the carbon dioxide, it is also used, it decreases. So it decreases and you are getting the deaerated water which is free from the oxygen content and carbon dioxide content. Understood? So the solubility goes on decreasing from the water and the gas remains here. So that's the mechanical deaeration process, and we get it deaerated water and which is suitable for the boilers. Now we see the next cause, that is dissolved carbon dioxide. Actually the water contains the dissolved oxygen as well as dissolved carbon dioxide, which is responsible for the survival of the aquatic animals. So we can say the two sources are there for the carbon dioxide. One is dissolved form, the other one is coming from the salts. The CO2 formed by the decomposition of the bicarbonates, hardness causing salts. The bicarbonates are the hardness causing salts. So from their decomposition, carbon dioxide also releases out. So the calcium salt decomposition is also responsible for increasing the concentration of carbon dioxide. The dissolved oxygen has only one source. It is in the dissolved form. But the carbon dioxide has two sources. It is in the dissolved form in the water, as well as it can come from the decomposition of the hardness causing salts. So as CO2 concentration increases in the water, it combines with the water to form acid, carbonic acid, which has the corrosion effect on the boiler material. It is responsible for the corrosion because it forming an acid. So this how the CO2 is responsible for the boiler corrosion. Now we see how to remove the CO2 content. It can be removed by the following methods. The one method is the common method for the dissolved oxygen as well as for the dissolved carbon dioxide, that is mechanical deaeration. We have seen in the previous slide. Okay, for the dissolved gases, we can use this method, mechanical deaeration. By that, we can decrease the solubility of the gas. The next method for the removal of CO2 is filtering the water through the limestone. We can filter the water through the limestone. The reaction happens. Limestone calcium carbonate react with the carbon dioxide with the water to form calcium bicarbonate. So this can be done by using limestone. So it converts into the bicarbonates. But this method causes the increase in the hardness. If you use this method for the removal of CO2 using limestone, it increases the hardness because it is converting into bicarbonate salt. So we cannot say that this is the appropriate method for the CO2 removal. The third method is addition of the appropriate or a calculated quantity of ammonium hydroxide. So CO2 can be removed by adding this chemical ammonium hydroxide because it converts into ammonium carbonate. And ammonium carbonate do not create a problem. So that is the method we can remove the CO2. Or you can do before the use of the water to the boiler, you go for removing the CO2 content by adding these chemicals so that it do not create the problem in the boil. Now the third last cause of the boiler corrosion is mineral acids. How the mineral acid responsible for the boiler corrosion? How it comes in the water? It comes due to the hydrolysis of the magnesium salts. For example, magnesium chloride is there in the water. It undergo hydrolysis and form magnesium hydroxide and form HCl. HCl is the mineral acid. HCl, H2SO4, all these are the mineral acid. So this how it comes in the water. It comes in the water due to the hydrolysis of the hardness causing salts. So when it forms, its concentration increases, it reacts with the iron to form ferric chloride and hydrogen, and then it reacts with the water to produce ferrous hydroxide. It start reacting again. We have the HCl regenerated here in the reaction, and after that the ferrous hydroxide, if it goes for combining with the oxygen, the rust can be formed. So it can be a chain reaction because here the regeneration of the mineral acid is producing. So it enhances the corrosion. So this how the mineral acids are responsible for the boiler corrosion. So how to remove the mineral acid content? It goes for forming the boiler corrosion. We have to just minimize the mineral acid content, and there is only one solution to control the mineral acid content, that is a calculated quantity of the alkali. To neutralize the mineral acid, we should add the calculated quantity of the alkali is added to neutralize the acid for preventing this corrosion. So this is an important control measure, and this is only the solution you can have for the removal of the mineral acids. Understood? So the mineral acid which is responsible for the boiler corrosion can be minimized only by adding a calculated amount of the alkali to neutralize the mineral acid. If we go for calculating the amount of HCl in the water, and then we can add the alkali to neutralize it. So this is the boiler corrosion, various causes and the control measure. In the next lecture, we are going to see the another problem, another trouble of the boiler, that is caustic embrittlement. So thank you and take care.